Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, feel free to subscribe, go ahead and like, comment, share, all that good stuff.
Breathing my last breath, feeling like I'm walking my last steps. And look at all of these tears I've wept. Look at all the promises that I've kept.
So today's video, I just wanted to talk to you guys about my C-section and how that went, my experience with that. And I wanted to also officially introduce you guys to Kenzo. I ended up having preeclampsia, so my blood pressure was extremely high. We're pretty sure, my doctors and I were pretty sure that it was due to COVID because I've never had a problem with preeclampsia before. Like with Channing and Kalani, I actually had like perfect pregnancies, everything was fine, I was healthy, so COVID is a culprit for me, and they're actually pretty convinced that this is pretty much what happened to me last time with Isaiah, and we just didn't know and we didn't catch on to it. I never knew or thought to check my blood pressure. I actually didn't have like anything at home to check my blood pressure or monitor my vitals or anything like that, so they believed that it was like a sudden onset of preeclampsia. My blood pressure got really high, which caused the placenta abruption and everything like that. So yes, COVID is a culprit, but this time around I was prepared. Actually, so here's the story. So how I found out that I was dealing with high blood pressure was shortly after we had COVID. Aaron and I were just in the living room, and I was telling him, because he was eating a lot of snacks that day. So I was like, I'm pretty sure your blood pressure is like super high right now. So he checked his blood pressure, and his was actually good. And he was like, check yours and see what yours is. So I checked mine, and my blood pressure was like 160 over 100. It was like kind of weird. I was like, oh, maybe this thing is broke. So I checked it on the other side, and then it was still high. So I waited a little bit and I checked it again, and it was still high. And then we redid his, and his was good. I was like, okay, maybe I need to call my OB. It was late at night that night too, so I called my OB, and she said to go ahead and take a shower and just try to relax and then retake it. If it's still high, go to the hospital. So I did that. I took a shower and everything, and I wasn't feeling any effects, but my skin looked weird. Like I had like blotches all over my skin. So I was like, okay, that's weird. So I rechecked it, and it was actually higher. So I was like, okay, let's just go to the hospital. So we went to the nearest hospital, and my blood pressure was high. Did they admit me that time? I'm trying to remember, because all of January, I was in and out of the hospital. So I'm trying to remember if I was admitted to the hospital or if they were able to get my blood pressure down. I don't remember. But there were a few times where I did have to stay in the hospital for a couple days, and then we got everything situated and I went home. So yeah, that's how I found out that I even had high blood pressure. I'm sure we would have found out at my next doctor's appointment, but because at my previous doctor's appointment, my blood pressure was normal. It was good. Oh, and then also because I had COVID, I couldn't do the in-office, like the in-office visit, which is literally the same thing that happened with Isaiah. I got COVID and they couldn't see me in the office because I had COVID. So we did the video appointment, and then 2 days later. So yeah, I'm really thankful that I had the blood pressure cuff and that conversation happened. So anyways, let's fast forward to the day of my C-section. So I went to the hospital February 3rd because I had a really bad headache. I had some pains right here. I was not feeling good. It was really the headache. I was feeling dizzy. So I checked my blood pressure and it was like 173, 174 or something. I can't remember. And I was like, okay, we need to go to the hospital because I can't do this. I actually had to work that night. So I was like, let's just go a little bit early. And then also it was a snowstorm coming. So we called our friends and we dropped our kids off with them. They literally live like 2 doors down. So we dropped our kids off with them and then we drove to the hospital. It took us a long time to get there because a snowstorm had hit and there was no salt trucks out. It was crazy. There was so many accidents on the way there. I was so scared. But Aaron did good. He drove us there and we got there safely. So I got to the hospital. They immediately sent me to labor and delivery. I was 35 weeks. Yes, I was 35 weeks. They did my vitals. My blood pressure was like extremely high and they were concerned. So they had me, lay down and then chill out for a little bit. And they gave me some medicine and it didn't help. It didn't do anything to my blood pressure. My blood pressure actually got higher. They had to call my OB. She was actually at home sleeping. They called her and she was like, okay, I'm just gonna come in. She was like, I think it's best if we just go ahead and do the C-section tonight because we don't want anything to happen and with my history and everything. So they came back in and told me that my OB is on her way and they're going to start me on magnesium and I have to be on that for 24 hours and that I'll be getting my C-section that night. And it was like 8 p.m. ish at around that time. So from like 8 to 11 they did antibiotics, magnesium, they did all kinds of stuff. So you guys, I cannot believe I actually did that. Like I really had a C-section. Like I really did it. I was in the room. Aaron was there this time. We actually went to a good hospital. Well, I'm not gonna say a good hospital. The other one was a good hospital too, but like a hospital that had an NICU and had everything that we potentially would have needed. So Kenzo and I would have been at the same hospital. So the NICU came down and talked to us and they explained to us like the difference between a 35-week compared to a full-term baby, and they considered him a late preterm baby. They talked about his development and what we could expect. They were saying like he could have problems breathing on his own. He might need a couple weeks in the NICU. They went over the feeding with us, how it's different with feeding them. And like he gets exhausted when he eats. He burns a lot of calories just trying to eat. They just went over everything. So I was, obviously I was worried. Like I don't want my babies to have to go to the NICU. We got ready for the C-section. They had me use these like wipes to clean my stomach to prevent infection. I did that twice. And then they gave Aaron his things and then they took us down to the OR. And this is where we got separated. Aaron had to wait until everything was prepared before he came in. This is the crazy part, okay? So the anesthesiologist, she came and talked to me as well. Explained everything to me. So before the procedure, but she went ahead and did the spinal, which is different from the epidural. It doesn't stay in your back. It's like a 1-dose type of thing. I was sitting there and she was like, okay, don't move. I'm going to numb you. And she, right before she did it, I was like, oh snap, I got to throw up. Like I was so nervous. So they gave me the bag and I literally threw up a lot. I was so nervous. Like I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be awake and I'm going to do this. Like how am I going to be awake? And they're going to be like cutting me open. Like I was just freaking out. I did have a support nurse there as well, and she was, holding my hand and stuff, but it just wasn't the same as having like your husband there. So then the anesthesiologist, she numbed me, and then she did the spinal, and I could feel the spinal go down to my right leg, and I felt it hurt for, like it stung for a little bit, but then it went away. And as soon as she was done with that, they hurt and laid me down, and I was like laying there. and they explained everything as they were doing it. What they did was they didn't put the drape up yet. I was just laying there, you know, all out. They monitored baby, and they also monitored me. They cleaned my stomach up. They did their scrub and everything, washed it, and you have to wait 3 minutes. So we were just standing there for like, well, they were standing there, I was laying there for like 3 minutes. And I'm just laying there like, breathe. Nothing started at this point, and you know, they were trying to lighten the mood and make jokes and everything, and I'm like, hey, you know, not funny. Yeah, then they put the little blue drape up, and they had Aaron come in, and I handed him my phone, and I was like, babe, please take pictures. They said no video, so just pictures. But he started taking pictures like as soon, like when they were cutting me open, and I guess we weren't allowed to do that, so I have a couple pictures, like graphic pictures. Oh no, before they brought him in, okay, this is the crazy part. They were pinching me, and I was like, I can feel that. And I was like, that hurts. And the anesthesiologist was like, is it pressure or is it pain? I was like, it's pain, it's sharp, I can feel it. They already had the drape up at this time, and I guess they were just trying to see if I was numb. I wasn't numb. Not really. I was still able to move my feet, especially my right foot, so I was like moving and everything. I was like, can you guys not start yet? Like, I can feel this. I was so scared. I'm just nervous thinking about it. But they were like, okay, we can't do another spinal, so if this doesn't work, then you're gonna have to get put to sleep, which will affect the baby and put the baby to sleep. And he's not gonna be breathing, and you're not gonna be breathing, and it's just gonna be an emergency situation. And I was like, Lord, like, please just let this work. Like, I just need this to work. So they had me on the bed, and they elevated me kind of like upside down a little bit, trying to get the spinal to, you know, work. And it still wasn't working. I mean, it was working a little bit, but I was like, I can feel you guys pinching me. Like, I could feel my stomach. I could feel my right foot. And I was like, this is weird. So they had to call the other anesthesiologist. I guess he's like the one that sees above everybody else. He came down, and he was like, is it pressure? Do you feel that? Or do you feel sharp? And I was like, it's not the pressure. Like, I can feel the sharp. Like, it kind of hurts a little bit. So he was like, elevate her feet some more. So I'm like laying there on the bed, everything's out, and I'm like kind of upside down on this bed, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So finally the spinal kicked in. I couldn't feel anything. He stayed the whole time. The other lady stayed the whole time. They let Aaron come back. So they started, and he was like, you didn't feel that, did you? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, they already started, they're already cutting you open. And I was like, oh, thanks for telling me that. Like, whew. But he was explaining everything, and you guys, it was the weirdest thing ever. Like, I could feel them tugging me and stuff, and all the C-section videos I've watched, I mean, people don't really explain it how it really is. Like, they're not just lightly tugging you, like, they're like tugging you, like your body is moving. It's just the weirdest thing, but it doesn't hurt. It's just like, okay, I know they're doing something, you know what I mean? It took them about, I don't know, like 20 minutes maybe to get all the way, you know, to the baby. I didn't feel them pop the water. I could feel a pop, like a pressure pop, but they popped his water. And then they said it's going to be a lot of pressure. So one of the doctors was at the top of my abdomen, and he was pushing, and then the lady that was delivering me, she was getting the baby out, and I'm just like, what is going on here? So Kenzo came out. He wasn't crying. He didn't cry. He was just chilling. And I was like, is he good? And they were like, yeah, Mom, he's perfect. And then they like took him. They showed us him, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I told Aaron, like, go over there with him and take pictures. I'm good. And so they started like doing, you know, his assessment and everything, and then They took my uterus out of my body and they laid it on my chest, and I didn't know that. Thanks to Aaron, he was like, "What's that pink thing on her chest?" And they were like, "Oh, that's her uterus." And I'm like, my uterus is literally on my chest right now. Like, what is going on? So I guess they had to take it out to examine it. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't want to know, and I didn't ask anything after that. I asked the anesthesiologist, the lady, she was like, "Do you want anything right now to like help you out a little, like relax?" And I was like, "Yes, please." Like, now that the baby's out. Oh, also, you guys, they delayed cord clamping. Like, they waited to cut his cord like until it stopped pulsing. I didn't know they could do that for C-sections, but they did that. And I was like, y'all, I like y'all. They had him at the table. He wasn't crying. He didn't make not one noise. And I'm just like, what is, like, is he fine? But they kept reassuring me that he was good. And to just focus on me right now, why they got him, he's in good hands, things like that. So the anesthesiologist offered me something, but she was like, "It's gonna make you forget all these special moments right now." And I was like, look, my uterus is on my chest. I don't want to remember that. She gave me something. It just made me like drowsy. Not drowsy. I don't know. It made me like high a little bit. But I remember everything. So I was like, I don't know. I remember everything. So I didn't forget. Yeah, and it took them about another 20 minutes to, you know, stitch me up and stuff. The complications that I had during the surgery was pretty much I lost a lot of blood. I did not know that until after, when I was experiencing like a lot of stuff in the hospital. They were like, "Well, you did lose a lot of blood," but they checked my levels and everything the next morning, and it was like climbing back up how it was supposed to. So they were like, "Okay, well, you don't need a blood transfusion, and you know, we're just gonna keep monitoring you." So my recovery has been quite crazy. Yes, I still have postpartum preeclampsia now. I'm on blood pressure medication, nifedipine. I think that's what it's called. That's what I call it. I've been in the hospital twice since coming home because of my blood pressure and an infection. So yeah, it's been quite the roller coaster. He got the cutest dimples. Like, here is Mr. Kenzo. He has gained some weight since he was born, and he's still so tiny. Look at him, guys. He is so cute. He's so tiny. And for him, he was so good. He didn't need no NICU stay. He didn't need anything extra. He passed all his tests. He wasn't jaundiced. He wasn't anything. Like, he stayed with me the whole time. That's his cry, y'all. That's all he got. Come here, baby. In the hospital, I had to feed him with, like, if I pumped a little bit, I pumped a tiny amount of milk. And I had to put him in syringes and feed him like that. Put it in his cheek and then he'll swallow it. So, he is so funny, y'all. But here is Kenzo Carter Page. Here goes Kenzo Carter Page. Oh, wait on, baby. He even chokes quietly, and it's so scary. Look at him, guys. So I'm about to go ahead and get him some clothes on and pump. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't let my story scare you. Out of a C-section, I just wanted to be honest about the experience that I had. It's literally everything I asked for, so. Okay, guys, I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.
Yeah, you've given me purpose.